got a chance
opportunity, promotion, blah, blah. You know, those are just words.
Words. All I have to offer is words. Just words.
Nobody cares.
Oh, no. Nobody cares.
What's going on, my beautiful peoples? Yo, today is like the first day that we're starting everything on time because now we push back the time, and I just feel mad relaxed.
It's been very smooth.
Yeah, like it's just all organically coming into place.
Te felicito, mi amor.
Yeah, no, because normally I'm like rushing at every turn. I'm like, I gotta do this now. Today I'm like, hey, what's up, man?
Very relaxed. It's nice.
As soon as I got that text, I was like, yeah.
New time.
I was like, give me next hour.
Love it.
I was so hurt this morning. I was just like,
God.
no. I was like, I need that extra hour.
I'm taking a nap after.
So I appreciate y'all for bearing with me. What's going on, baby? Welcome to Just Words Nobody Cares. I'm your host, Ron Kane. And as always, you know who we got on deck. My brother, my main man, Dre Drizzo.
What's going on? What's happening? What's popping? How's everybody, man?
Just cracking up with the song now.
Trying to freestyle over the beat now.
Like, every week you get more animated with your intros. I'm like, he hasn't figured out exactly what he's gonna say. Before I was like, hey, what's up? Now he's like, what's happening?
Trying to be like the old school radio jockeys.
Call them radio jockeys.
How old you call them? The old school ones, right? The jockeys.
Disc jockeys.
Disc jockeys. That's what it was. Yeah, disc jockeys.
How you doing, baby?
I'm doing alright, man. I'm doing alright. These last 2 days, these 90-degree weather caught me, man.
Yeah.
Thugging it out with a fan.
Right?
Yo,
It's
I was
been
thugging it
beautiful.
out with a fan in my apartment, man. It was horrible. So
Is it like one of those you feel like it's a little midget blowing wind?
it's horrible. It's horrible. Yeah. Like
Oh,
it's
no.
like
You didn't
just
get
the
outside at
sound.
all? You didn't get outside at all?
Nah, I got outside. It's just my apartment. I don't got an AC
My
yet.
place of
Yeah, so
living.
Where I'm supposed to go sleep and rest.
Definitely no rest. Definitely no rest.
Oh man, it's just waking up mad sticky and hurt.
You know the face you put every time you wake up.
It's gonna be a hot summer.
I know. I'm not
Yeah.
getting the AC for sure.
I ain't gonna lie,
It's a
like
warm winter.
So hot.
yo, the transition was so drastic. And, like,
Get transition
overnight. Like, yo, how is it 40 one day and then out
my
of nowhere
God.
like 89 or
don't
whatever?
Crazy,
understand.
bro. Like,
90.
come on now. Like, how
Today
that
was
work?
better, no? Y'all have been outside.
It was
today
better.
fresher.
2 nights ago, it was like that first night where I couldn't sleep with
Yeah.
the comforter anymore.
Yeah,
Yo,
yeah, no.
yeah.
I know. I was, like, we went from having like 3 comforters on the bed.
For real.
Yo, bro, now I'm
Sheet the
like,
fan over top.
Like, get off me.
I'm like, yo,
Take off the
I'm like
sheets.
kicking her leg off of me, like, yo, check it out.
We're gonna have to bust out that AC.
No,
soon.
that AC is about to be turned on real quick.
But it's nice today. It's nice.
Today is smooth.
Yeah, it's supposed
The
to
breeze
rain
is
later.
coming in.
But
And that
Nice,
other
nice.
voice that you hear on deck is always the lovely, honorable Lady H. How you doing today, baby?
I'm good. It's this week has been one of reminding myself that time is precious. Time is
Look at
very, very precious.
Jesus Christ, man.
Tell
You
everyone you love them
just dropping bombs
at all
already? Like,
times.
Hey.
Yeah.
what happened, Lady H?
Just people that I love are going through shit. That's
Okay.
it. You know,
Yeah.
a lot of transitions happening. Yeah, to the next thing in what our existence is. So, you know, love to
Lady H.
them and love to those who have transitioned and love everyone in your life. Time is
Absolutely.
precious.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Facts.
Yes.
I do get upset when people, and I've expressed this to you many times, that when people want to love when it's too late, and I hate that shit.
Damn.
I mean, I don't peek it, bro.
Yeah, that's
So,
what they say. Give people their flowers before, right?
And yeah, no, it's
What
like
is
like
it?
that. And I
Something
didn't know
like that?
anything about the flower situation
Yeah.
until like this past recently.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
And like I didn't know
I
they
don't
could
know
oh
this.
give people flowers. Like I just
Like
I,
in general?
Give them their flowers.
Oh, yeah.
Their respect,
flowers,
their
their
respect,
homage before it's too late. Or
I didn't know about that till like recently.
Oh.
I just always give people love, but
Yeah.
now there's the flower situation.
I do
but
love
I didn't
flowers.
know about it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh man, I just
Flowers are
tell everybody they're dope.
Hey, that's enough. That's
right?
good enough. Yeah.
It's a bouquet of words.
Bouquet of
There you
words.
go.
That's a good
That's a
image.
good way.
That's
Yeah,
a good
that's
image.
a good vibe.
And that other voice that you hear on deck is our guest that I'm super excited to have on today, because not only is his first podcast, his first interview, his first everything apparently, that he gave me the whole heads up yesterday, but I'm like, yo, now it's going to be my job to make sure that you feel comfortable in this whole situation.
Absolutely.
My brother, Checkarelli.
Let's love.
Oh,
Thanks for having me here.
Like, I do enjoy exchanging texts with you, because you always say blessed. And I'm like, oh, have a nice blessed day. I'm like, wow, man.
Yeah.
That's nice.
I say, yeah, it's true. In the group chat, I be saying that too. I like to have a nice blessed day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a nice thing. Like, people should be blessing each other more often.
You had someone pray for you a couple of weeks ago.
I was we were chilling in a restaurant uptown. And I just struck up a random conversation with someone. And after we parted ways, they're like, hey, Ron, can I ask you a question? I was like, yeah, sure, bro, what's up? He was like, is there anything you would like me to pray for you that you need? And I'm like, damn. I was like, wow, that's really nice of you. I appreciate you. I was like, nah, man, every day's a beautiful day.
And then I feel like there was another situation at brunch.
Oh, yeah.
At your uncle's spot, and that woman started praying for you. You remember that?
Oh,
you got
Rolando's spot.
baptized.
Oh, yeah, I got
You got
baptized.
baptized.
But the thing is that when those people pray for me, I feel like they're trying to say I've been doing like
Praying for
sins.
themselves, really.
But you know what was it? That prayer was so long. I was holding my birthday
Oh
cake
my
like this. I'm
God.
like, yo,
Yes.
when is she gonna stop?
You got straight baptized that day.
Yo, for real. Shout out to her.
But it's good because it puts energy out into the universe.
Absolutely.
And we're manifesting. We're channels. So
Absolutely.
I like that.
Yeah.
How did you come to terms how did you come about just generating spreading that type of energy and love with people you cross paths with? Like, how did that come about? Have you always been like that, or did something in your life say this is the way I should be?
Wow, it's a loaded question.
It is very loaded.
It's a good one. No, it's a good one. It's a good one. I mean, I would have to say that just the awareness over my life, over my travels, and kind of unifying and being universal with different spiritual paths, and just recognizing that there's a oneness, that there's one love universal. And you hear every group is like, we got their answers and everybody else is wrong and everybody else is condemned or the enemy. And I feel like it's important for us to unify people, and it's important to spread the love that we want to see in the world, be the change that you want to see, like that cliche saying. I think that it's important for us to always be the blessing, always be the light, always be the joy. And sometimes we see, it's like on social media, we always see the best of what people project out into the world, but we don't see behind the curtains that everybody's dealing with their own things. And so how can we spread a little light in everybody's day, I guess.
That's
Gonna have me
beautiful.
dropping bombs the whole fucking
All day.
episode, bro.
Yeah.
It sounds cliche, but
No,
it's
it's
true.
true.
It's true.
It's
You know what I mean?
True.
I think in a world where there are a lot of distractions, anytime I cross paths with people that have that outlook on life, I'm genuinely curious to know how they overcame being that person that's just always constantly worried about the life circumstances, like and on focusing on all the wrongs and all the bad, and it's like, nah, you know what, we're here, we're good, just be blessed. Because there's just so much shit happening, right? And it's like, wow, when I hear people say that, I'm like, I truly enjoy it.
Yeah.
And so all that to say, man, is that I appreciate when you tux.
I think it's more about the call to action. It's really about, like, how are you gonna feel when I say bless, or I send you blessings, like, you're gonna internalize that, right? So that's gonna bring about an energy and a dynamic between us, so that when we interact, and when you interact with other people in your life, like, you've been blessed, so now you're spreading blessings. And you hit me up, you're like, my brother, with exclamation marks, like, I'm like, that's love.
There you go.
Yeah, man.
So
And I never thought anybody actually read into it, but
that makes me want to project love back to you as well, right?
That's
You know what I mean?
beautiful.
appreciate it, dude. It's one of those things where, and for me, it's always been a life lesson, and because and just to share a perspective, when I used to work at Macy's, right? And people that work there, a lot of them were not in their happiest state. And so for me to deflect a lot of their energy, I would, people would be like, "Oh, how's your day?" And I'm like, "It's phenomenal. It's amazing." Because they'll be like, "How's your day?" And they're like, "Oh, it's miserable." And then they'll just walk away. But I'm like, "Yeah, cool." Send
blessings to them. Send blessings to them.
And so ever since then, I was just like, "Yo, just nothing but positivity." That's the nicest way to get rid of the people that are not positive.
Yeah,
But you think
protection
it's healthy to say how you feeling? Like if they are feeling miserable, is it healthier to say it instead of saying I'm phenomenal, but they are feeling kind of shitty though?
That's a good question.
I think it depends. Because like sometimes people say like, "Hey, how you doing? How you feeling today?" But they don't really care how you feeling. So I think there's got to be space held for being open to hearing how somebody actually is. Not everybody has that strength. Not everybody has those skills.
I mean, shit, that's why they have therapists, right?
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Oh, you probably say it to somebody that cares.
Huh.
That could help you with it.
Right.
The other people you'd be like, "Yeah, I'm fine."
And they're clearly
Whatever,
not.
get the fuck away from me. I guess so.
My problems
I guess I
on
was
you.
like, yeah.
But how are you doing today?
I'm feeling good. It's my weekend with my son, and we have our little traditions. We we have movie night on Friday. We got we play video games on Saturday nights.
Oh,
Nice.
What, what movie did y'all see last night?
Castaway.
Oh.
Oh, but y'all see like
Okay.
real movies.
Yeah.
I was hoping like, Super Mario. Oh man, I had him watch Castaway.
Well, because we were at the beach. We went to the beach yesterday,
Oh,
and
nice.
there was how like you go to the beach sometimes and there's like random garbage on the beach.
Yeah.
And I taught him recently, one man's junk is another man's treasure. And so he learned that, and then he had this dirty old sponge that he picked up off the beach, and he was playing with it, and I was like, "Throw that away, that's garbage." And he was like, "But Daddy," he's like, "one man's junk is another man's treasure." And I was like, all right.
He flipped it back on you.
Dropping bombs.
He's listening.
Oh, that's
He's
right.
always listening.
And so then I was
That's
thinking,
right.
it dawned on me that Castaway movie where he was on the beach and he had nothing, so he had to use the very little resources that he had, that he collected, or actually I had forgotten, but there was a bunch of FedEx boxes that floated
That's
over to the
right.
beach, and so he opened them up, and then the ice skates became the
The coconut.
That was a godsend.
Yeah. Shout out to Wilson too, right? Wilson. Shout out to Wilson.
It's one of those things for me. It's not spoiler alert. I'm sure people have seen this movie by now, but the ending, right after he's gone through all the tragedies of the world, and in the very beginning of the film where he's learning how to make fire, and he's like, "Fire! I've created fire!" But you see all the trial and error. He's like, because my man's never done this.
Yeah.
And at the end, like he goes to this big party that they found him, and he picks up the little lighter thing. And he's like,
Yeah, that's right.
Yo, you got a good memory. Yo.
I didn't remember that part.
That movie
remember
was
that
was
part.
from 1995.
That long ago, that movie?
Yes, yes.
What?
minute.
Damn,
Yes.
1995.
You got like a photographic memory.
Oh,
Oh,
man.
he's got a great memory.
I like love that scene because it's one of those things where appreciation. He probably never appreciated that lighter before.
Yeah, but it's
Yeah.
just like it's so simple. It's so simple.
He worked so hard to get that fire.
He's like, "Yo, there's a crab. There's a big crab," and he picked up the leg, and he put in so much work trying to prepare a crab, and when he had no fire, he couldn't eat it.
Like, how do you
And
transition?
then it's just there on a table, all laid out in a feast.
How do you go about
wild.
teaching? So you just teach your child life lessons by just telling them like this is what it is. Like I'm always very curious about fatherhood because I'm shook to have kids, man. Like it seems very it's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah.
It's a whole human being, a whole
Yeah.
human life.
Yeah.
And I see people when they have children, they're like pretty casual about it. If that's a nice way of putting it. And so when I see people who take a moment to share life lessons with their children, I'm like, and I say this because it all kind of ties in. Yesterday at Homeboy Sandman's,
Shout out to Homeboy Sandman.
shout out to Homeboy Sandman. As always, he's killing, live shows. And right in front of me was either a father and son or it was a grandfather and son, and maybe his son was the other guy. But the dude was going bar for bar with Homeboy Sandman, and he kept looking at his
It was a
kid.
battle?
No,
Okay.
like singing his song,
Oh, yeah.
and like you know, and he's there rapping the track with him. But he kept looking at his kid like, "Yo, listen," and the kid was like, "Whatever."
I guess this is cool.
I guess this is cool. And then like towards the end, the kid was like, "All right, you know, he's pretty cool." But listening to your tracks, you there's a lot of awareness that you're trying to share through your art, and I think one of my questions was gonna be, you know, in a world where it can easily be, especially in hip hop, you can go in one direction and spread certain knowledge and awareness. You know, then there's others, I guess, you know, if they're labeled anything, it would be conscious rap. I don't know why the other rap isn't conscious, but
Unconscious.
it's all unconscious rap. But there's a lot of intent behind the lyrics you drop. At least I feel that way. So, you know, you mentioned earlier, I asked you how long you've been rapping. You said 30 years.
30 years.
How many albums have you dropped?
3.
Wow, man.
So the first 2 were mixtapes. There was, you know, a collaborative project, One Blood Universal. Shout out to Loon G's, Boulevard Bugs, Stanley Phantom, and Kalo.
Man, just gave a whole shot.
Word up.
Yeah. No, we put out 2 mixtapes in 2012 and 2014, and this one in December, Eternal Life, was a debut album. It's kind of functions like a mixtape because I got a lot of features on it. But yeah.
So before all that, what made you get into hip hop?
What made me get
Or what inspired you to get into hip hop? Like how did that come about?
So 1995.
I survived.
I mean, of course, I was listening to hip hop before that, but as a writer, as a lyricist, 1995, Pac drops "Dear Mama," early '95, and you know, I believe it was my mother who bought me the single, the cassette single,
Really?
which I still have. You know what I mean? And I went home and wrote my first verse that day, probably. You know, I was inspired that day.
Do you remember it?
I don't remember the words. I might have the paper somewhere in a box somewhere.
Oh, you got to frame
That'd
it,
be
bro.
dope.
Yeah,
That'd be dope.
Yeah.
I remember I think it was titled "Gone with the Wind" or something like that.
Interesting.
You know, and I forget what the topic was about, but that was when I wrote my first verse, and then maybe by 1997 I had made up my mind that I was gonna be an MC, and I remember sitting down with DMX had just come out at that time, and so I was listening to a lot of DMX, and I was using some of his bars, and I was just, you know,
Reference, it's all right.
as a reference, you know, as a springing board, and then I just, you know, would add my stuff in, and then from there on, it was like, it was on, you know.
So listening to Pac, I guess I can hear the because I heard you sample what was it? You sampled one of his quotes.
In Providence, he says, you know,
That's all. That's what my music's about. The oppressed rising up against the oppressor. So if only people that's scared are the oppressors, the only people who could have any harm coming to them are those who oppress. Simple as that.
that's how I feel about the power that hip hop has. You know, hip hop is such a spiritual force. You know what I mean? Like it all sums up in that quote, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
It in that spirit, like, so is that what drew you to, like, have you always taken, are you an activist, or would you consider yourself?
I'm a high school teacher.
You're a high school
You're a high
teacher.
school
wow.
teacher.
Damn, man, you just fucking, yo, you just dropping more.
What subject? What subject?
Well, so pre-COVID, I was doing English and history.
Oh,
Wow.
And now I was out of the school for a little bit. You know, I wasn't comfortable with the COVID vaccine, and I applied for a religious exemption. I got the religious exemption, and I was out for about a year working remote for my same school, and then they overturned the mandate, so I'm back in the school, loving it, back with my colleagues, my principal, and my students.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, so
You're doing a
What's
great
up?
service.
Yeah, hell yeah.
yeah.
Do the kids know that you're an MC?
Yeah, in fact, the group I shouted out before, One Blood Universal, they were students.
Oh,
wow.
And they were not doing nursery rhymes. Like, they were legit MCs that could stand up against, any MC.
Oh, that's awesome.
Super dope.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's pretty
Wow.
dope.
Yeah,
that's
those mixtapes are on SoundCloud.
Oh.
Check those out.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna check
Yeah.
that out.
Definitely, yeah.
It's and so back to what I was asking in regards to like the inspiration and the drive. So you're rapping, you're listening to X, you're listening to Pac, because like I said, I hear the activism from the inspiration from Pac, but X had a lot of, he was a very complex writer. Especially because of his mental health issues and all that kind of stuff. Like, how did you steer away from going down maybe those type of topics? If that makes sense.
I was heavily inspired, Pac is one of my greatest inspirations, but Bob Marley is also, one of my greatest inspirations. And so the Rastafari movement heavily influences where I'm coming from as an artist. And, that one love, that, unity with the Most High. And so I think that reggae music has played a significant role in where I stand and what I represent.
Okay.
In my messages.
Wow.
Also, Dead Prez. I'm a big Dead Prez
Oh yeah, Dead
fan.
Prez.
They
Shout out to Dead Prez.
Do you find your work in the classroom informs your work on your music and vice versa?
In terms of like how I teach.
Yeah, how you teach, and then like what your experiences are in the classroom and how they
For sure.
inspire
For sure.
what you write.
For sure. You know what I mean? Like we try not to be political, in our teaching and whatnot. But lyrically, yeah. I got a line in a song that I'm working on right now, and it's like, sometimes I feel like the youth can't be reached. You know what I mean? Because it's very difficult. It's very difficult. We're competing with a lot of forces right now, a lot of dark forces.
Yeah.
And social media is like a drug that is the dopamine of the masses.
That does segue into what I also was starting to ask you with, how do you go, and you're talking about the challenges of reaching the youth. So how do you go about, teaching, making sure you maintain the integrity for your son, because shit, you got classrooms of children's minds and also your like how can you balance that or even put that all together?
In terms of how I raise my son?
Yeah.
I take being a father very seriously. You know what I mean? And the other day I have him in jiu-jitsu.
Oh shit.
And
nice.
The other day they were
Damn, man, you just like fucking mad layers, bro.
yeah, one life to live, baby.
Gotta do it all.
The other day, he was in jiu-jitsu class, and they have this game called Ninja Ball or something like that. What's it called? Ninja Ball? Ninja bowling. And they take like one of those big physio balls that they use in the gym, and they roll it at the kids, and the kids have to dodge it. And if it hits them, they got to do frog leaps. They got to,
Oh my
what I mean?
Wow, yeah.
That sounds like so much fun.
I know, right?
And it hit him the other day, and he didn't do his frog leaps. And I'm there, and with the parents, and I see him not do his frog leaps. And so when I got an opportunity, when he was done, I went up to him, and I'm like, this is what we call integrity. Like, nobody saw that you got hit with the ball. Nobody noticed that you didn't do your frog leaps, but that's, your integrity is your character when nobody's looking.
Yeah.
So you make sure you do your frog leaps if you get, you know what I mean? Because it's not that serious in the moment for him. He's 7 years old, but in the future as an adult, like somebody, life is about, your character and your integrity and your reputation and what you leave behind. And I want to instill that in him. And so, our students, our high school students, they have so many influences coming at them. You know what I mean? And so I try to impart the same type of vibe in the classroom, because a lot of what we teach isn't just about the academics. It's not just about the books. It's not teaching for the test. It's about life skills, social skills, higher level thinking skills that they need to take with themselves, you know what I mean, on their journey. And, sometimes one teacher, it takes a village to raise children, but sometimes one teacher can say something or have a lesson one day that changes everything for that person. And it may not even click right away, but 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, that lesson may kick back in. And so that's how I try to approach everything.
That's a lot of respect
Dope.
to you,
Yeah,
and
hell
how
yeah.
you teach your classroom and how you raise your sons.
Yeah, shout out to all the, the careers in sports fam, because we all take part in that journey. You know what I mean?
That's tough. High school kids
Yeah.
too. Teaching high school kids is not
That's
an easy
hard.
task.
So chamaquito.
Do they listen to you?
Yeah, it's not every time I tell people I teach in the South Bronx, they're like, "Oh, that must be so difficult." But really, they're some of the most beautiful kids on the earth. Like they're so brilliant, they're so skilled, and they're so full of passion. And you know what I mean? Yeah, no, it's not that difficult. It's what's difficult is just trying to to bring motivation in around content, around academics. You know what I mean? But other than that, I mean, a lot of our students are athletes, and they're so skilled on the court or on the field, or you know what I mean. We have award-winning teams. We have the fitness team and the rugby team, and we have
There's rugby in South Bronx?
yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Well,
shout out to Coach
Bronx.
Rosario. I'm also a photographer and filmmaker, and I did
I know, bro, pero
Yeah,
coño.
we're-
He's killing them out there.
Like
Killing them out
an
there.
onion with many layers.
I mean, I did a promo video for the girls rugby team a few years back, and some of those girls got scholarships to colleges from what they were doing. And so I'm proud to be able to have captured that and have a video commemorating that. You know what I mean? So I try to just give back and do whatever I can to create opportunities, open doors for the youth.
So let me get this straight. Not only do you rap, you're a cinematographer.
Yes, I.
You are a history teacher and an English
teacher too,
right?
yeah.
I mean, because that in itself is wild. And then you're raising your son, and you're like, that's a lot,
That's a
bro.
lot.
It's
Yeah.
a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
Yes,
Oh,
I.
I'm like, wow.
Hell yeah.
Shout out, bro.
Yeah.
Does the students ask you like, yo, teach, bust a freestyle real quick here and there?
Sometimes, but this particular group is new to me, because I was out of the building for a while, and so they're not so familiar with me yet. So some of them know that I rap, but most of that was back in like the 2014,
Okay.
2011 to 14 era. So now I'm just kind of getting back. I've only been back in the building for a couple months, so I'm also not the type of person to want to show off and be like
Nah, but there's nothing
Yeah.
wrong with saying, it was like, yeah, man, I do music, I do film.
Well, don't get me wrong. Like I'm working on it. I'm working on a One Blood Universal 2.0. I already got a producer, a brother from Senegal. You know what I mean? I got MC. I got a singer. I got a few people. I got a DJ. I'm assembling a team. You know what I mean? And but little by little. Little by little.
Nah,
It's gotta happen
bro.
organically. You know what I mean?
That's it's impressive, because the last time when you came, the way we crossed paths was during Homeboy Sandman's interview, and so he was just sitting here mad quiet, and
And you had long hair.
No.
no, you
Look,
no,
you had
he
curly hair, no?
He had a
No,
hat on.
he didn't have a hat.
Well,
That's
if
what
it's curly, I probably didn't have a hat.
yeah, that's what it
Oh,
was.
okay.
He didn't have
Got
a
it.
hat. And you just sat there mad quietly, and then towards the end you were like, oh yeah, I rap too.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm like,
yeah.
I'm like, bro. But now you're hitting me with all these other
all
fun
this other
facts.
shit.
What other fun facts are there?
No,
But beyond that.
yeah. So what else do you do at this point? I like keep asking. So because shit, you I'm like trying to claw these questions.
No, I mean, it's not. I think we're all part of this renaissance. I like to see it as a renaissance, like it's a movement, it's a consciousness, and we're all part of it. Like y'all doing the podcast is equally important as what the artist is doing. You know what I mean? Like, and y'all have to wear so many hats. You got to be lighting technicians, audio technicians, filmographers. You're all doing it too. It's not just
Shout out to Ron.
That's Ron.
Ron King. He does this every
He
Saturday.
wears multiple hats.
I'm like, yo, every week is a new learning thing. Before I was like,
But give props to yourselves.
Yeah, you're right.
You know what I mean? Like
You're absolutely right.
you're creating an environment and creating an ecosystem of thought, of thinkers, and you know what I mean. Like you're pushing the culture forward in your own way.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate you.
Yeah.
Right.
Doubt.
It's
How could I do this without y'all?
oh man.
We can't do it without you. We
Yeah.
need a
I'm like, wait.
It's an ecosystem, as you
Yeah,
said.
it's teamwork.
Poignant.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start presenting it as,
Relationships.
yo, I don't have a podcast. I have an ecosystem. Like, introduce that next at a next level added value.
30 years of rapping is a very, very long time. Why 3 projects?
Well, I got a lot of projects lined up right now. I got a lot of stuff I've been working on, more solo type stuff, because
Okay.
the first 2 mixtapes, because it was group projects, I generally have just one verse on a track, and I found that when I went to perform, I had a show in November, and I was like, dang, like most of my tracks I got one verse, even from my album, and which was not released at that time. And so it's gonna sound funny if I just put a beat on and I rap one verse and then it's over. So I had to figure out how to transition from song to song. And so now my mindset is like, I gotta have a minimum of 2 verses on a track. You know what I mean? So that I can perform my stuff and it doesn't feel like like just a snippet.
Yeah.
You know what I
You
mean?
must have a lot of music stashed.
I
For
got some
30
music
years, you
stashed.
Right?
I got some
you
music
must have a
stashed.
lot of
Archive.
music stashed.
You know what I mean? But it took like I can't remember if there was it's a quote or something like that, but like I think it was more about books. But an author's book is usually like the deepest. When an author puts out their first book, the first book, it has everything that they've been kind of putting together their whole life, and so I think it's the same way with the album. Like a lot of artists' first album is super powerful.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or at least reveals a lot of their soul.
I recently came across this Lauryn Hill.
I was just gonna say Lauryn Hill. I was just gonna say that. Shout out to El Boogie.
Yeah, no, she
First album's incredible.
it's like the only album.
Right.
No,
Oh, yeah, that's right, that's right.
I mean,
One
she had the
album, that's right.
unplugged, but nobody listens.
That-
You
Yo,
listen to the
oh my
unplugged?
goodness. Yo, the unplugged is stands on its own. Yes.
But is it original tracks?
yes.
Really?
Yes.
No.
Yes. It's original tracks. It's all original.
Yeah.
I believe so. I mean, maybe I'm wrong on that, but I believe a lot of it. I believe it's original.
I thought it was like a remake of the first album.
No.
I'm bugging.
I didn't give it a listen. Like, I gave it like one listen. I was like,
Oh no.
So
You
I'm
gotta go back.
gonna go back.
I want to do a cover of one of her songs.
Really.
I love Lauryn Hill. Yeah.
Yeah, Lauren has. Yeah,
But
she's a beast.
So what she shared.
There was no substance, and there was no substance because there was no experience. I'd gone from the studio to the stage, back into the studio again. And the only reason why the Miseducation was the album it was because of a myriad of experiences that took place before the production part, before the creation. So what I realized is, you know what? I can't create and not live. I can't be in this vacuum.
Now you want me to, so now I put that album out and I go to tour and I travel and I do this and I'm just performing and I'm not doing any living. Right. But because the record label wants you to put the next album right there, I'm like, yo, I haven't lived to sit down and, compile more music or more life experiences to then share on music. And I was like, it's a very valid point.
That makes a lot of sense.
Like,
a lot of sense.
As an artist, I think, a lot of, I think urban music in general, it's been so commoditized that they just want to pump out content right away. And so when you do hear artists talk about living life and to then translate their life or transcend their life into the music, you don't hear that often. I mean, at least, and so that's why, but Lauryn Hill, when she verbalized that, I was like, shit, I learned something new.
Yeah, makes a lot of
Makes
sense, though.
Yeah.
I was just like,
Need
But
something to write on.
now I feel bad. I need to listen to it fucking unplugged.
Oh yeah.
That's what I thought was a
sure.
remix of the first one. That's what I thought
Yeah,
it was.
listen to her interviews as well. She's very deep sister. You know what I mean?
So that your most recent album, right? Like in like December of last year came out. What was your goal? What did you want to accomplish with that album?
I want to remind people that we're representatives of the Most High in this plane, in this spiritual plane. Our bodies are the temple of Creator, and we just need to remember that and recognize that and understand that. Like they say, the only thing that was promised was death, That's a lie, because eternal life was promised to us.
Mm.
You know, Yeshua promised us eternal life. You know what I mean? And it was also promised in the Kemetic teachings. You know what I mean? The eternal life is symbolized by the Ankh. You know, so
what is the Ankh?
the Ankh is a Kemetic symbol. It's like a kind of like a cross with a circular top.
The
What
prince
is-
symbol.
yeah.
What is Kemetic?
The
Egyptian.
Egyptian. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
right, like the prince symbol, right?
I don't know if it's the
And that's the
prince
cross with the
symbol.
circle top, right?
Yeah,
With the- yeah.
Got it.
Yeah,
There's a cross
represents
by the
it
top,
represents life and fertility, and you know, you see on some of the hieroglyphics where the ankh would be offered to the pharaoh or offered to a deity. You know what I mean? Is the breath of life, or you know what I mean? Yeah.
It's the ovaries. That's how I remember it. Because the same, if you look at how ovaries look, it's supposed to look like that. I'm being like it's all supposed to be like connected or something.
I have seen, you know, illustrations where they say that the top represents the female and the bottom
Yeah.
represents the male. I've also heard that may not be an accurate depiction.
Interesting.
but-
Yeah, like that's what
not
like
sure.
came to my brain.
It's fertility.
Sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's a powerful symbol.
Yeah.
Ah,
That's
I
life.
didn't-
That is literally life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah.
Look at these things, man. There's so many portals and
But the concept, you know, beyond what we've just discussed, you know what I mean, is eternal life is this the body, the physical is temporary, but the spirit is eternal. Like the spirit doesn't die. So it's just to remind us that, you know, the way that we move in this life is, you know, we need to move cautiously, and we need to be light. We need to be love, and we need to, you know, remember our connection to the divine.
Absolutely. There you go. There you go.
we once had a guest here who was a Jehovah's Witness that I didn't know about until he was here and we talked about it. And he dropped another fun fact on me, right? And he said that in their heaven, there's like a max population of like 100,000 or some shit like that.
How you get in?
And I was like, coño, there's even blocking.
Yeah.
And so now that you're talking about eternal life, I'm like, wow, this is just open space for everybody, you know?
Yeah, 100,000 is like a little.
Yo, bro, I was like, coño, there's 8 billion people here right now. Nobody's going to be able to get in.
It's already full.
Like, so, you know, like, I don't, for me, it's all love, right? Yeah. Like, it's the universal laws of right. And so I don't necessarily, do you practice or follow a particular religion or?
Oh, you're going deep, bro.
Oh, my bad. No, if you don't want to touch, it's all good.
No, it's because it's complicated to explain. First and foremost, I'm a follower of Christ.
Okay.
Follower of Yeshua. You know what I mean? And I see the oneness in all different spiritual paths. You know what I mean? And you know, I have elements of Muskogee, Native American.
I'm sorry. What's
Muskogee? In English, they refer to the Muskogee as Creek. You know, my great grandmother was Muskogee, and so I have elements of ceremonial life from the Muskogee people. I have, you know, I'm also a wellness warrior, so I have elements of Kemetic practices and, you know, Christian. I have, you know, been around, you know, my Muslim brothers, and so I see the oneness, I see the connectedness, I see, you know, a world where we can be united spiritually without all the things that keep us divided.
All religions together.
Yeah, not just religions, but you know, just the consciousness. I feel like it's there's a consciousness that exists that we just need to be more aware of and that we need to cultivate.
Yeah. What just out of random curiosity, what are your thoughts on why religions introduce so much separatism, like their identities? Because if we all thought about universal consciousness, you would think that many more religions would kind of be together, but you hear like so many little sectors.
There's a lot of conflicts.
There's so many conflicts. Yeah. Just out of curiosity, you don't have to answer that if you don't want to.
Yeah, no. Why do I think that there isn't more unity?
Yeah. Man, that's a pretty loaded question when you put it like that.
I mean, you only asked a couple.
It's.
Give me the answer, Seach. No.
There's no coincidences, right? Because this is something that I want to interview people and ask. So I'm gonna ask you the same thing. You know, but a lot of it's cultural. You know what I mean? We have religious doctrine and scripture that ultimately we share a lot of the same things in common, but the cultural things often divide us. you know, the way that women are seen, the way that, you know, races or ethnicities are seen, a lot of the specifics. And then you have the Jehovah's Witness, where they're very, very strict. You know, I know some people who came from a Jehovah's Witness family where if you aren't Jehovah's Witness, like, the family cuts you off, and you're, you know, you don't exist to them anymore.
Isn't that fucked up though?
A lot of religions are like that, though. A lot of religions are like that.
So shouldn't those people not make it to heaven? I was fucking around. It's like,
You think about it.
yeah, I'm like, yo, you being a hater, bro. Like, it's just, I mean, it's all multifactorial and there's so many layers. And you know, my bad if my levity, it translates to anyone as disrespectful, but it's that I if there's one thing I do despise and hate, is hate itself. Like, I'm like, yo, that shit, it's so much energy, I think, that is wasted on those efforts to disenfranchise people, to make people hate each other, and like it's just so much power to that. And you know, if the world is designed to feed everyone 10 times over, like, why are motherfuckers struggling? Like, why are we introducing all those barriers? And it's just like,
it's sad.
There can be so much abundance for
And so-
everyone.
So when we're talking about religion, and specifically, I'm always curious as to, you know, why aren't we as united as what religion promotes, which is the unity and the oneness and all that. But it's like, coño.
I think that a lot of times people don't practice what they preach.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
that's true. Yeah, that's
And
often the case.
they don't practice what they preach. And if they followed, you know, if followers of Christ really followed what his teachings were, then a lot of the history under the Catholic Church would have never happened. You know what I mean? Slavery, segregation, you know, all the things that happened in the inception of this country and in the colonization of the world would not have happened if they really followed the teachings of Christ.
I mean, I don't know much about Christ, but seemed like a really casual 33-year-old person. A man just chilled. He was a carpenter, magician.
Turned water into wine. He hung out with the women of the night.
Yes.
Yeah, he had love for everyone.
He's just chilled.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it seems like a reasonable human being.
Yeah. I think so, but there's so much politically motivated agendas behind a lot of religions.
That's the problem, too.
Yeah, a lot of what's written.
Church has so much money.
Money and shit.
A lot of money.
A lot of the
lot of
hate
money.
from religions towards each other. Gotta
lot
be
of power.
behind money and power and all that.
But just remember that you know, Pac has a in his interview, he's like, why does God need this beautiful church to speak to me?
Yeah.
Right.
He's like, then why did he put me in the hood if he wants, you know what I mean? So I believe that our bodies are the temple. You know, we don't need to necessarily be, I see the beauty in having a church community or a mosque or a temple, you know, or a ceremonial square that unites people in a spiritual way. But just remember that we are living, breathing temples of the Most High. And,
Absolutely.
you know what I mean? And if you read, you know, you say you may not be familiar with Christ's teachings. If you read it and you feel it, you know, you may find yourself embodying it. You know what I mean? But yeah, like I don't think that there's only one path.
Correct.
You know,
I agree with that 100%.
I think there's universal principles of love and mercy and compassion and forgiveness and empathy. You know what I mean?
Right. I agree.
I agree.
Yes, I agree as
Keep
well.
dropping bombs.
I agree.
I agree. Like, I ain't got no comeback for that because it's like, seems reasonable.
So let
good.
me ask you a question though. Do you think that it's possible to unite people on a spiritual level? Is it possible?
And this day and age?
Yes.
I absolutely believe so. I mean, because for me personally, I think when people use the word and the phrase spirit, they immediately identify with religion. So for me, I go more on the science-based level, which would be the metaphysical. And I'm like, I think people can absolutely connect. You know, what we were watching Blade Runner, and there's this beautiful scene, or the one
It's the
exchange.
new Blade Runner.
Yeah, the 2049.
Yeah.
And when they're talking about, you know, what are we? We're all made from cells. how are we connected? You know, people in prisons, they're in cells. How are we connected? People that talk on the phones, they talk on the cell. And like everything was like, you know, how we're all trying to be connected. And on one shape or one form of fashion, we're all connected. And I was like, oh shit, you know, I downloaded the script, don't hold me to it. I didn't say it verbatim, like exactly, but it's a really dope, you know, exchange that made me think a little differently in regards to connectivity and higher consciousness. So to answer your question, do I believe that we can be connected? I believe we are connected. It's just we might not be aware of how connected we are. And so I absolutely believe, you know.
Let me ask you, let me take it to another level. Can we unite in a spiritual way that empowers the people so that we can resist oppression, resist economic and political oppression by hyper-capitalism, by the elite forces that, you know, maybe don't have the best interests of the people at heart? Is it possible for us to unite in a way that we can be empowered to ensure that the future is in the hands of the people and not in the hands of the very wealthy, the oppressor, the elite, etc.?
That's a loaded question.
Anybody want to answer? Or should I? Should I rumble?
Nothing's impossible.
Well, nothing is impossible, but I think that the separations, religions do separate the people a lot. The different type of religions separate the people a lot. And that itself makes it hard for people to even come together as one.
And this is the thing. In reference in general, I remember when I was a kid, I did a history project, and the topic that I discussed was even same people, same group of people saying they wanted the same thing, and the challenges that they faced internally to even try to get what they wanted. And in this particular case, it was the civil rights movement. So you have X, who was, you know, outside of religion and what he was looked at and the issues that he had, but, you know, the optics were of the by any means necessary. So people attributed him to violence. But then Black Panthers, right, a very big social political party, and they were like, we're going to protect our own. We want to grow within. And, you know, they have their 10 rule list and beautiful stuff, I think, right? But also they were the optics. They were associated with violence. So they were no good. Then you have Martin Luther King, right, who was ultimately kind of praised because it was like, oh, we're going to dialogue and we're going to talk and all this.
And all that.
And so X really wasn't crazy about, you know, Junior. And the Panthers were like, yo, we're just trying to do our own shit, right? And so I was like, they ultimately want, these three, you know, group of people, they ultimately want the same thing, which is embetterment for their people, their community, their circumstances, and not even embetterment. They just want civility, right? That's the basic premise of what they're asking for. However, their routes are totally different. And they had internal conflicts, you know, given the challenges that were faced and thrown in front of them as well, on top of everything, because then you go into the CIA and, you know, all those other things. And so, you know, I share this because as an adult now, I attend like a co-governance meeting for our community here in Washington Heights, and you know, you have,
that's what's up.
You know, you'll have like the group of white people, you have Black people, and you have Latinos, and you know, then on top of all, right, like we're all in the same hood. We want the same shit. We just want clean streets. We want good education for our children. Decent shit, right? But then people start getting very micro. So the Latinos will be like, oh, you know, we need to make sure that there's equity, that everybody, we can talk in so many other languages. So because then it's not only Latino, it's not Spanish, it's, you know, if we have an Indian population, we have a Haitian population. So all of a sudden, that one message that we want to convey, we need to figure out how to break it down in 10 different fucking languages, right? So bang, that's one challenge. Then, you know, a Black person will be like, well, you know, whites and Latinos don't like us. And I'm like, so they're having now we're introducing another layer. And then Latinos are like, oh, but the white people and the Blacks don't like us. And it's like, what the fuck?
They need a collective agenda.
And so ultimately the collective agenda would be, oh, we want better. That would in a very macro scale. But then when you get those people in the room, it becomes so micro that nothing ever fucking gets done.
Yeah.
And so the bureaucratic process of just trying to accomplish something as simple as introducing awareness of like, yo, well, we're here, we're doing something, and we want more inclusivity, we want more engagement, we want more people to know that, hey, we want to make our hood better, and we can do that together, and let's do it collectively. But then when we're together in the room, everybody's like, mira, I'm doing this and that, and like, coño.
But even, I mean, if you look at a complete different society, a communist society, do people get on the same page there, even if it's state mandated? And I mean, there's still corruption in those places too.
But then you also have to understand the insurgencies of what the United States have done and how they've introduced destabilization by putting their favorite political figures in power. Right. So that becomes a whole nother thing.
Okay, so go to Russia, right? But the U.S. is different relationship to Russia, right? And they still are going. Internally, it didn't work out.
Well, then I would challenge that and say, look at Cuba, right? Cuba, I think the optics are, or it's broke and things aren't good, but they have the highest literacy rate.
They got really great surgeons and great ballet dancers.
Their exchange is usually vaccines. They have they're giving medicines to the world. Yeah. Tiny little island, right? And Che Guevara, when he wanted to spread these teachings, going from Argentina to Cuba, and then he wanted to do it in Bolivia. In Bolivia, what happened? The CIA came and told the Bolivians, like, yo, this man does not want your interest at heart. And so when you have those circumstances, to bring all this shit 360, because my bad, I'm going into
those are a lot of good connections there, right there. Yeah.
Your question, which is, do I believe wholeheartedly, that spiritually can people grow and connect? I absolutely believe that the intention will always be there. People will work in there are good people that work in that direction. However, a lot of the noise that happens in the world kind of masks all of that, all of that intent that leads people to believe that work isn't being done. If that's a fair response.
I think so. And then the masking too is controlled by other forces.
Like if you look at the history of the New York Post, for example, right? Who owned the New York Post? Rupert Murdoch. The reason he bought the New York Post was because back then, before social media, his only intent was to extort people. And so he would want to, like, if you were a fashionista or artist or whatever, and he didn't like you, he would make sure that a bad op-ed was written about you. And that was his way of spreading information.
Damn.
Yeah, like that was his whole intent.
Savage.
Literally his whole intent of why he purchased a whole newspaper was just to make sure that if anybody had any political interest in,
he's been going ever since.
And it's been going,
I was just about to ask, how long this went for?
Oh no, it never stopped. It just never stopped.
He owns a lot, most of the media, right?
Wow.
Yeah. And now that he's dying, he's trying to sell it. Now he's like, that's it. This is done.
Yeah. It
serves its purpose. Yeah. So, but once again, I do believe that there are people that are working in that direction, but it gets masked by the noise. If we were to collectively put our money together and leverage and not change, and I stop using the phrase change or the word change, because a homeless man taught me the most important thing I ever learned right now in recent history was a change. A change is what you get after you break $1. We've been asking for all the wrong things. I don't want change. I want $1. And I was like, holy shit, I have been taught to ask for hope. I'm always going to have it. So that means if I ask for hope, I'm going to keep being given the disparity. Because I like hope, the aspiration of wanting something better. I'm gonna ask for change. That means I'm getting what's left over after I break $1. So I'm like, hold up, I'm always getting the leftovers? I've been begging and I've been taught systemically to only ask for the wrong things. And if I speak to the universal powers, or if I speak to the universal being or the one and all that good stuff, then I should be asking for the right thing. So now I ask for the shift, because all the shit that's there, I just wanted to shift in my direction. So I don't ask for change.
Absolutely.
So I do, to answer your question, brother, I do believe that the efforts and the intent is there. But there are challenges, man. There's a lot of challenges. And you're fucking working toward against a power that's been implemented for thousands of years to work against that ideology. And we want to change that. We want to shift that consciousness. Overnight, it's not gonna happen. I mean, in that,
I don't know that it's gonna happen overnight, but I think that it can happen, and maybe not everybody's meant to be part of that movement.
Yeah,
but
That's true too, though.
no.
I mean, last night we were talking about that, and you were sharing your frustration at how, like, you were saying, how the fuck are we gonna get everyone to shift?
Yeah.
If everyone is putting a mental block on it.
Yep.
And ultimately, I think it is changing. It is not changing. It is teaching others. You just got to teach 5 people. You got to reach 5 people. That's it. 5 people with what you're trying to move and what you're trying to shift. And those 5 people will go and reach to other 5 people, and that's already 25 people.
What was that
So-
movie of the chamaquito? The remember that movie?
Was
of
it
the
Pay It Forward? Or
But
which one?
little kid, he was just doing was good deeds, and then everybody else started doing good
I
deeds.
think it's Pay It Forward.
Is it? I think you're right.
Sounds like
The Sixth Sense kid. Was
Yeah, Pay It Forward.
He made another movie.
No,
I didn't even know he made another movie.
that sounds like a good premise, though.
Yeah, it does.
it's a very nice movie, and it's once again to bring it all 360, because I know your question is relatively loaded, but I love looking at things on a simple scale, and I do believe that if we were to make it as straightforward as that we want to do better, then we should start with building our wealth, right? And not just our wealth individually. I'm talking about why is it that once we get our first big paycheck, why are we immediately buying the expensive brands and clothes that are owned by the people that wouldn't even want us to have that
they don't
shit?
have any of our interests at heart. Yeah.
And
It's the
so,
rat race.
and then we keep giving it to them. Why do we go to the neighborhoods that don't have our interests at heart, and we give them our tax dollars and all all this stuff? And if we start shifting that bread in our direction, because we have a very big buying power, then we can start listening. They not only listening to each other, but then they would start recognizing that, and by they I mean the establishment, because I always have this conversation. But who's they? It's no, it's not a specific person. It's motherfucking establishment. And I'm talking about the corporate hyper greed power, all that good stuff. And so there's no fake pseudo they, and they would take recognition on that kind of stuff. And so I'm very pro love ours. And just because I say love ours doesn't mean I don't love anyone any more or less, because I believe love is infinite. I can give love to everyone, and so yes, I do think we can collectively work towards shifting and building and growing together on many levels, not just spiritual, just on so many other levels. I think the spiritual level is a good premise, a good base. But we can do so much more. In my humble opinion, it's but we need to start some fucking where.
Somewhere.
and
I think that's the starting place.
Yeah.
I think it's within. We gotta change our own spirit and cleanse our own hearts first and foremost.
Make sure the temple is taken
Make sure
care
the
of.
temple is taken care of. And
Yeah.
like you said, like the example you gave, each one teach one. Son helps son.
You gotta clean your house before you invite people in.
I mean, ideally.
It's just dropping bombs. It's just dropping bombs. I didn't think about that. So
Let me ask you this: how the pandemic worked out for you creatively, your creative side? Like, it paused you all the chaos? Do you go crazy on the creativity? How did that work for you?
Well, the pandemic, like I said before, when I was introduced to John 9, it was like a spiritual renewal for me. And her music, her lyrics, her message, her vibe, her energy, her feminine divine perspective, just it shifted a lot for me.
Cool, I'm gonna have to listen to this quote.
I know, right?
For real.
Yeah, and so I think that opened up a lot of doors for me, and I had a lot of extra time to really kind of cultivate lyrically. And I'm not the type of person where sometimes I might bang out a verse in a very short period of time, hour, half hour, but other times I like to really kind of marinate on a concept, make sure I have the right beat. But yeah, like after a while, sitting at home, you go crazy. I was about to leave my profession. I was like, if I don't go back to my school, I gotta find something else, because I cannot be working from home anymore.
Well, what do you have shifted to? What would have been your new pivot career?
Honestly, I miss the days when I would have jobs where I was working with my hands. You know what I mean? Working in a warehouse. With a group of guys, whatever, loading trucks and, stuff like that, like working with my hands, probably.
Hard labor.
Yeah. When I started my business, No Whole Sound, and I was very stressed out in the very beginning, like, starting a business. And I remember walking into a Best Buy and seeing a kid just like load up shelves of whatever shit, right? And I thought to myself, wow, that kid doesn't realize how lucky he is just to be doing mindless shit for a moment. But then I thought about purpose and higher purpose and all that good stuff. I see, and I'm just gonna share this with you. Like, I see exactly what you mean about like what you would have pivoted to, but your purpose is much higher, my brother.
That wouldn't have been no.
Like, yo, you keep teaching. Nigga, you should not be loading up fucking trucks. I'm telling you that right now.
But there's something to be said about, you know what I mean? Because teaching,
and it's not to take purpose away from those people. My bad.
Yeah, because they play a role as well.
Everybody
You know what I
plays
mean?
a role,
But also, like, your spirit grows in other ways when you're in different contexts.
Yeah.
So there was one particular job. My father, my great grandfather came from Italy. He started a vegetable farm and bought land and had a bunch of sons. And all my uncles, great uncles worked on the farm. My father worked on the farm all his life. I worked on the farm for a period of time when I was young. And so that's part of who I am, working with the land, doing physical work. But, there's one other job that I worked at where I was in the warehouse, and it was just, a lot of young men, older men that would come, it was kind of a high turnover rate, but I was there for about 2 years, and just every brother that came in was a whole new relationship, and I felt like my spirit grew a lot. And
the vibes,
the vibes, we had a lot of fun. There was a lot of humor, and I don't necessarily get that type of dynamic, you know what I mean, in an educational setting. Right. You get your own, you get a different vibe with young people and students and my colleagues. I love my colleagues and everything, but like, there's something to be said about moving around and not being sitting at a desk all the time or standing up. You know what I mean? So for everything you gain, you lose something. But I'm also an aspiring children's book author. So
oh shit,
Coño, pero te tiro.
He just slid that one in. He just slid that one in.
Fucking keep adding like little things on the lower thirds. Like, now this nigga's an author.
Because you can't just do one thing. You gotta be versatile. You know what I mean? And so I feel like a teacher, or a griot, or a sage, or a jegna, whatever term that you have, is it takes shape in everything that you do. It's not just, I'm not just a teacher when I'm at my school. I'm a teacher all the time. You know what I mean? And I feel like we all are. Like you said that you learned one of your greatest lessons from a homeless brother. Like, he's a teacher.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You're right.
Potentially an angel. So everybody has something to offer. Everyone has an offering, or a sacrifice, to quote John 9.
But man,
everybody matters.
Everybody matters. Everyone does. But you know why? Because we are matter from the
there you go. Double bomb.
We matter because we are made of matter.
Right?
It's like my own little joke.
But the spirit is not that matter. You know what I mean? The physical body is that matter, but the spirit is not that matter.
But that's what I meant. Like, we are matter.
Yes,
that's why we are. But you're right.
For now.
But now we got eternal life. I We
You
do.
always had eternal life.
I always talk like we have a conversation. Lady H and I usually have this conversation, and it's like talking about transitioning into the afterlife, and not always, just on rare occasions. And we always have this exchange. Like, wouldn't it be wonderful if we can just like go through time, travel, and see, and just watch and see,
present.
and it's just like, wow, I just want to see what happened.
Right.
Like, how did everything take
What was
shape?
life like too?
Yeah.
Like, I'm just so curious.
It's like I don't want to just sit in heaven doing nothing.
Yes.
We're gonna be everywhere. What is the title?
Everywhere.
Everything, everywhere, all at
all
once.
the time.
That is what eternity will be.
It's like I just want to hover and just chill. Like, I want to know what the fuck happened to the dinosaurs. Like, I just want to be there. Like, that's wild. How did this change? Random thought. Anyways.
Yeah, I that reminds me, and if I had one wish, I would like to watch the whole story of everything. And humanity is such a microcosm of what has taken place on this earth.
From the beginning.
From the beginning.
Big Bang all the way to...
Because we're like, our time on this earth is like a grain of salt in the span of the universe.
yeah.
I mean, a grain of
Wild.
sand in a beach of time of the universe or whatever. It's a lot. It's a lot to process. I mean...
I don't know. Do we have the capacity to process all that?
Nah.
I do think always about in another movie reference, Indiana Jones film, the last one, at the end where the Nazi lady is like, she talks to the aliens, and she's like, I want, if there's one gift I can have is I want to know everything. Y el tigre le toca, and the dude like grabs her head and like spreads all the knowledge, but it's so much, and she just dies because it's so much, bro. And I'm like, no, that's why I just want to hover. Like, that's why I want to chill.
Yeah.
It's a lot of truth, man.
One thing I would like to know before we go on to that other stage, if we are alone.
Oh,
I think we are.
Wait. You think we are alone?
I don't think we are.
No, I don't
No.
think.
Yeah,
Do you think we're alone? Random. I know now we're talking about alien shit.
We randomly just got...
Yo, from very young, I've always maybe my father put this idea in my head, but when you look up into the sky, every single star that you see is a sun potentially just like ours that has planets going around it. Like, there's no way that there's not life out there. You know what I mean?
So there's no...
Statistically, it's
like,
no
yo, the
flat-
odds. Like, if I had a bet, I'm like, yo, there is.
So
There is.
I could safely say in this table there's no flat earthers. No, we don't live in a dome. Nothing.
Potentially, what you do in this life determines which one you go to next.
It could be. I mean, that
Coño,
does bring
I'm gonna go
up
to a whole new
parallel.
planet?
It does
Maybe
bring up
not. Maybe you
parallel
come back here to learn
universes.
lessons that you haven't learned yet. But
Yeah.
potentially, what you do here could determine where you go next and the life that you incarnate into. Some people say that you choose the life that you incarnate in because of the lessons that your soul needs to learn. But who knows if you choose or not?
But that's when religion comes in kind of tricky. Because if it's like that, some religions, they, the sins are...
Oh no, that's
freed.
fucked.
Yeah, so that's what I'm thinking. Like,
yeah,
that's what it gets.
But I like Hinduism. The idea, I think it's Hinduism.
For reincarnation.
Yeah, you come back as elephant or whatever.
Right, whatever your
I don't
karmic
know.
situation was from the last life.
And like if you did good, you step it up.
So what is a step
I
up
don't
from
know.
human?
Yeah.
In reference to what you said, though, I just recently read, and I actually have the quote with me, but there's different interpretations of the gospel, and in John, there's an interpretation of that eternal life or that salvation, that forgiveness happens now. It's right now. If you follow Christ, if you confess to Him and you follow Him, like you're saved right now in this present life. You know what I mean? There's different interpretations, but if you want to go that route, then maybe the planet that you go to is heaven. Maybe it's and maybe it's hell.
Yeah.
Or you make your hell and you make your heaven, or you know what I mean? Nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
And that's why to go back to what I think you were saying before, is like nobody can prove who's right. We don't know the truth. We can only believe what we believe and follow what the Creator has instilled in our hearts and the signs and the omens that we get as we travel through this life. So we don't know what the truth is, and you can't prove to me that your perspective is any more right than mine. So what are the things that we have in common that we can unite on spiritually?
This is love.
Yeah,
This is like I go off of love. That's why I think that's universal personally. If people choose to think of that. But the reason I asked you about, the challenges or how do you go about raising your son is because I've been hanging out at the STEM Center in Washington Heights out here. So it's the science, technology, engineering, math center, whatever. And but the thing is, it's supposed to be a resource for young kids or young adults to go and learn more about science, technology, and blah, blah, blah. However, because, community of less means, it's like people leave their children there as if it's a fucking daycare. And I'm like,
thousands of dollars of equipment around.
There's like a whole, I'm talking about machines, bro.
Yeah.
And there's like little kids there, they could draw and like coño. But, and then I see their parents, and their parents are just there. And I think to myself, wow, man, this is a very difficult, repetitive cycle that will be very challenging to break. And because they're just consumed by the noise. And so that's why I was like, how do you go about staying out of that? But I'm going to, I don't want to assume, but religion is your strong, reference, right? Like that, is that
and how I raise I approach,
how you approach life, period, I guess.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I from the time I wake up to the time I go to bed, it's a spiritual experience for sure. You know what I mean? Yeah. I have an altar. We have, ceremonial things that we do. Yeah. I don't know how deep you want to get into all that, but
that should go deep.
Last call for words. My brother, Dre Drizzo. This was a very wild conversation.
Trust me, I was trying to think about this segment for a while, but it was just so many different avenues. I was like, I don't even know what to say. So right now, I feel like, whoa. But I appreciate you, my brother, for coming through. You wear many, many hats, and thank you for all that insight. My last words, and my brain is blown, bro. There you go. I'm gonna go with that, but make sure your house is clean before you invite somebody in. Whatever you believe in, make sure that doesn't hurt somebody else, in the process. So
dropping bombs, baby.
I'm trying to drop bombs. Mine is at 100 right now.
My brother Checkarelli, who I was introduced to you, or you told me you were just a rapper, or you only mentioned rapper, but now you're rapper, history, English teacher,
author.
You're a Renaissance man.
Cinematographer,
spiritual,
coño, broke.
Yeah.
We could do a whole segment on it right now.
And that's what the movement is called, the Final Renaissance.
Yeah, no, I saw that in one of your albums. Yeah, so now it makes sense. Yeah, Renaissance man.
So the tagline is, the Renaissance will be televised.
Okay.
I was hearing it, the song, and it was playing in the living room, and I was hearing it while I was doing something in the bedroom, and I thought I heard the revolution will be televised.
Yeah,
Didn't realize
it.
The Renaissance.
Now it's the Renaissance will be televised.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah.
I really like that.
Copywritten.
Yes, yeah. Claim it.
What would be your last call for words, brother?
Just to feel a sense of urgency, because this life is not promised. This life is not promised, and we got work to do. We got love and light to spread, to shine. We got to cast out the darkness in our hearts and our families and our communities and our workplaces, and really think about what we want to build and what we want to leave behind for the future generations.
Absolutely.
There you go. Wow.
There you go.
Yeah.
Nice, brother. I appreciate you dropping a world of knowledge.
A lot of jewels. And
I appreciate you being patient, man. We were
Yeah.
talking
He's a
for like
good kid.
a full hour and change,
kid.
man. You've been chill. I see now you're getting a little antsy, but
Yeah.
it's
okay.
You're within reason.
No, I get way antsy before you do. So
The lovely, honorable Lady H, what would you like to have as your last call for words?
thank you for sharing everything. Thank you for your presence and your words. That was a bomb that you dropped, the last one. Time is finite. Our bodies are finite. The spirit is infinite. And what is the legacy we're leaving?
What is it like?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Coño, but you guys are just on point. Now what the fuck am I gonna say? A lot of it's always beautiful to come cross paths with people that have a plethora of knowledge to share and extend. And one of the things you you would share. One of the things you would say was like, I don't know how deep you want to go, and you know it's tough to unbox all these topics because there's just so much. It's just a vast array of information, knowledge, and you know, just yin and yang. For just as much good, there also has to be some sort of bad, and you know, whether it works together or it's combating or whatever. And you know, the good force, bad force, all that good stuff is, you know, all these metaphors. But I do revert and I simplify and I go back to my mentor, my spiritual advisor, I guess, Mr. Hill. And he just shares, you know, keep fighting the good fight. Because if we are fighting, and if it is something that we're up against, which we always are, and we're working towards something, you know, allow yourself the space to keep fighting the good fight. And you know, you guys said a lot that sum up a lot of what I choose to believe in and I choose to know, because this world, not this world, the circumstances that we put in front of us offer a lot of accessibility and ease for one to be frustrated, for one to be mad, for one to be upset. And one thing we learned last year during our trip to Arizona, MAD, the acronym for Mutual Assured Destruction, which was if during the Cold War, if the Russians shot a missile to, you know, blow us the fuck up, we had assured that within 3 minutes or 3 to 5 minutes, a missile was going to go right back. And we had 3 locations ready to go depending on what part they hit.
And we would just destroy it.
And we would just destroy everything. Bang. Seems pretty insane, though. It's called MAD.
That's what prevented the U.S. and the Soviet Union from ever fighting head on.
And so, but because you went so insane, it introduced that sense of peace and some sort of civility, right? Like, yo, we all know we can rock each other off this world, and we can blow it up. So let's just be easy, yo. Yeah. And that's how I kind of feel about life. Like, yo, there is a lot of madness.
Yeah.
Allow yourself to be easy.
Just take a chill pill.
and it sounds cliche, it may sound stupid, but
the thing is that we have the luxury to do that. Us, you know what I'm saying? We have the luxury to do that, but when there's power pushers that are making moves in the world, as a government leader, you know, military leaders, like, we don't have the luxury to just, you know, take a chill pill. Like, some real stuff going down in the world right now.
You are absolutely right, my
always
brother.
Has been.
And there always will be. There will always will be. And it is a luxury. You're not wrong. However, I would share that it is only when we allow, in my humble opinion, if we allow ourselves the space to assess the situation, that we can move forth accurately and with more, you know, conviction and know exactly what it is that we want. And I think, you know what, that'll be my last call for words, which will be, you know what it is that you want. Find your purpose, find your peace, find your energy, because once you figure that out, I think you will know if you do have the luxury or allow yourself the space and the luxury to have that opportunity, because otherwise you're just fucking going and not knowing where. But it's only then, I think, you know, whether it's through prayer, you got to take that moment to face Mecca. If you got to take that moment to look up to Christ, you got to take that moment to be up in the mountains and be a Buddhist, whatever it is. Ultimately, I think we need to make sure that we make that time to find that peace, to know where it is we wish to go. And like I said, I don't practice a specific religion, but I've studied enough to know that the commonalities and those actions, kind of, we need to apply them whether we follow religion or not. And we need to give ourselves space, man, because shit is whack. A lot of things are very poor, and not just financially, like the circumstances, the settings, and it's just a lot of very poor, unfortunate circumstances. And if you don't give yourself a moment to be, then you're just kind of spinning the wheel, in my humble opinion. You know, and it's not to take away from anything, because shit, man, if a fucking bomb is blowing up my crib, man, it's not easy. It's real. But if at the same time, if we wish to work in a specific direction, which is in a part of embetterment, I think that mental state and that allowing to be, because There's certain heads that are designed to be soldiers. Shit, man, there are other countries with kids the size of your child's age is holding AK-47s and wild shit. That shouldn't be. I don't want that to be a reality for anyone. Anyone. But it is in certain places.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Am I gonna allow myself to go crazy over that reality too? On top of all the other things happening? It's a lot, man. And so I would say allow yourself peace. Allow yourself peace so then in order to know what action you should be able to take. Allow yourself peace to know what purpose you need to fulfill. Allow yourself peace to just be. And, you know, we'll have eternal life, man. Yeah. My name is Ron Kane. This is just words. Nobody cares. But, yo, a lot of shit was said.
A lot.
I appreciate you. My brother Checkarelli on deck. Dre Drizzle.
Yes.
Lovely Lady H. All of this is appreciated, man. But, you know, we love you.
Thank
you for listening.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, man.
Thank you for y'all for being here.
Appreciate you,
We
my
didn't do
brother.
the
Appreciate
hands
you.
thing.
Oh,
We didn't
you
do
know
it
what?
last week either.
And we didn't. No, we did. Yo,
No, I don't
before
think so.
the beginning of every episode, we try to do this thing now where we hold hands and give ourselves like 10 seconds of a moment.
Yeah.
But I think, you know what, we're gonna do it as the outro. Appreciate y'all to whoever was listening, man. Thank you for sticking with us. This is just words. Nobody cares. We're out. Let's give ourselves 10 seconds. Be a part of this, brother.
Oh yeah, cool.